Hi everyone, today we will be discussing the problem taxis. This is from POI round 3 of 2018. This problem appeared in day 2. So just to give a brief description of the problem, there are basically n taxi companies. Each taxi provides taxis with a certain fixed charge SI, which is independent of the travel distance, and then there is a variable distance charge, that is for every byte meter that you travel, like their system of unit, you pay a cost of CI. So for example, if you travel, let's say 5 byte meters and SI was 6 and D SI was 6, and so let's say if you travel 5 byte meters and let's say SI was equal to 6 and CI was equal to 7, then the total cost you pay is 6 plus 5 into 7. So each company has its own parameters SI and CI. Now we basically have to check whether a certain rankings of the taxi according to their price is possible or not. So let's say if you are forming a ranking based on the total prices that you need to pay if you travel, let's say, a distance D, we just have to check. So the ranking is based on how much amount you have to pay, let's say, after a distance D. So obviously by varying the amount D, the rankings might change, right? Just a quick example. Let's say our S1 was equal to 5, but C1 was equal to 10, and let's say S2 was equal to 20, but C2 was equal to 2. Then at D equal to, let's say, 1, the total price we pay for the company 1 is 5 plus 10 into 1 equal to 15, and for company 2 it becomes 20 plus 2 into 1 equal to 22. But then if you consider D equal to 10, then for company 1 we now pay 5 plus 10 into 10, which is 105, and for company 2 we now pay 20 plus 2 into 10, which is just equal to 40. So the order of this switched, right? So what are we going to do? We will first report whether the given permutation of taxis will ever be achieved in any ranking as D progresses from 0 to, let's say, infinity, right? So some order of rankings will be possible, some may not be possible. It's also given in the problem that if there are, let's say, more than 3 taxis or more than 2 taxis at a particular place, you can order them as and how you want. So let's say if 2 taxis are requiring you to pay the exact same amount, then you can order them as 1 2 or 2 1 in your ranking. That is upon your discretion. If we solve this, we get the first subtask where there are no queries. However, in this problem we might also have queries. So what are the queries? In every query, we are basically given 2 particular positions in the ranking, and you have to swap the rankings of those 2 companies in the order, and you just have to swap the order of those 2 companies in your ranking. So for example, if the initial order of your companies were supposed to be 1 2 5 4 3, and then you were told to swap these 2, then your required ordering must be 1 4 5 2 3, like ordering or ranking. Our job is only to tell a particular value of D where this ordering or this ranking can be achieved, and we have to do this after every swap. So the test cases are like, for the first 10 points you do not have any queries. The second subtask is just n and q both bounded by 2000, and then there are also no simultaneous ties. So in the first 3 cases there are no simultaneous ties. In the fourth case there is no impossible situation, so there might be some situations where it's impossible, and the fifth case is what we are trying to solve. So note that the number of total taxes and the number of queries are very high, 5 into 10 to the power 5. So we are potentially looking at a order n or order n log n solution. That is if q is equal to n, let's say. So we have to report the numbers as fractions in its lowest reduced form, and if the case is impossible, then we just report 9. So let's say for every company we are given a particular SI and CI value, right? And then for a particular distance D, we have some SI plus D into CI for every company. And we want to arrange and we want to find a particular D such that a given ranking, that is a given ordering of 1, let's say 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the ordering of these values, SI into D plus CI. So some initial observations can be, well, this reminds us of a equation of a line, right? So equation of a line used to be y equal to mx plus c. If we just consider m equal to ci here, x equal to d here, and then the c here is, let's say, si, then this kind of reminds us of a straight line. So if we view it in terms of straight lines, at t equal to 0, or rather at, let's say, d equal to 0, all the taxes have some certain si values, right? So this is the initial ordering of the taxes. So let's say if the SI values were, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the SI values were, let's say, 9, 4, 7, 11, 13, then these values will be 2, like this is basically corresponding to which company has the lowest value, which is 4 here. This company, the value here is 4, the value here is 9, not 9, 7, the value here is 9, here it's 11, here is 13. We don't have this here. So the companies respectively are 2, 3, 1, 4, 5. So this is the initial ranking that we have. Now as time progresses, the costs can be represented as straight lines, right? And hence after every crossing, the ordering gets changed. In particular, two adjacent elements might get swapped, right? Now our initial thought might be, well, if we can just keep track of each of these intersection points and then we can just swap the values as and when required, well, we can maintain our entire sequence as d increases from 0 to some infinity. Maybe this is a possible way to go, but obviously the number of such intersection points can be order n square. Well, we might try to think that there can be two possible ways to approach this problem further using intersection points. One way is that we can make some assumptions that there are only limited important intersections, or the second assumption can be that we can manage like multiple intersections quickly using some data structure or maybe something. So about the first point, it's very hard to say that which intersection is important and which is not, especially with queries. So if we, let's say, we're trying to sort all queries and trying to offline process, even then it is kind of hard to know that which are the important intersections, which are the not so important intersections, because after each intersection the order of elements change, right? So you kind of want to keep track of all the intersections, because otherwise even if two elements change their order, then it will become more troublesome for us. What about the second point? Can we manage multiple intersections quickly? Well, intersections kind of are discrete events here, and they do not even form a range. Even if we try to work something out about, like, taking, let's say, root n intersections at a time and then bunching them and processing them together, and hope that maybe the processing will be fast in that case. Well, even those kind of things are very hard to do, and even I'm not sure if we can do it in a subquadratic time. And even if we could, then probably the root n factor would have still stayed there and it would not have passed in any case, because n and q are both up to 5 into 10 to the power 5. Maybe we could group them together in some other way and combine them, but then it again seems very hard to do, because we also have these queries to process in between. So it's not like we can just take a bunch of intersections, that is a bunch of swappings, and then do them fast, because in between swappings we might have to answer a query, and looking out for that does become hard, because we are not even given that which value of these the queries need to be answered with, right? Like, for every query we have to output which value of d is suitable. We are not given which value of d we want to check at. So all these makes me think that these two are very improbable. Another idea that we might try to pursue is, let's say that in the permutation that we need, so let's say we need 3, 1, 5, 2, 4, then when is the first time that 4 becomes the smallest element? And we might think that, okay, this type of a thing can be answered effectively by some convex Hurtrick type of data structures, and then maybe we can utilize that to help in our problem. But then we immediately kind of can see that once you get this 4, we have to remove this 4 from your convex Hull data structure, right? And removals are very hard, because the line representing 4 might have deleted out several lines, and then you have to, like, take them all in again. So deletions in convex Hull data structures are hard, so it does not seem very viable. And even then, if it would have been viable, still handling queries are hard. So what is the key observation here, or what is another way that we can approach the problem? Well, if you think about it, we are only swapping two values at a time, right? So all these values remain the same, and only these two values that I have circled get interchanged, right? So effectively the ordering between only a few elements get changed, right? So let's say this and this, this and this, this and this, and this and this, right? So only these ordering gets changed, and even we might think that, okay, the ordering between these two elements are not actually changed, because the relative ordering is still the same. So let's think about the following thing: how many pairs of values does this particular element need to satisfy a relative ordering with, so that we can say that our rank list is fully satisfied? So what I mean by that is, for example, this rank list is only satisfied, or rather this particular element is at its correct place, if we know that this particular element is less than this element, it is less than this element, it is less than this element, less than this element, right? But we know that it is greater than here, 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 and so on. And not only for this particular element, we have to know this for every other element, right? So for every I, we have to ensure that all other j's follow a particular follow a particular relative order. So for this guy, for our ranking to be correct or for our ranking to be reachable, we want a situation, we want a value of d for which this guy is greater than this particular value and this particular value, right? But it is lesser than this, and this. Not only for that person, we also want to ensure this for this person as well. So this is greater than, or rather lesser than, this value and this value, and this is greater than this here, this here, this here. Now pause the video here and try to think what is the last observation that we need to simplify all these constraints that we have. Well, the key observation here is this: instead of every value trying to satisfy a relation with every other value, we can just look at adjacent pairs. So as long as we know that this particular value, this value is smaller than this particular value and greater than this particular value, okay, we are sure that this element is in its correct place. Why does this work? How can we ensure that this already ensures that this value is greater, this value is greater, this is smaller? How do we ensure the other values? Well, see that if we do this for all the elements, then that means that we are also doing the same for this value and this value, right? So let's call these A, B, C, D, E, F. Then for C, we are ensuring that C is less than D and C is greater than B. For D, we are ensuring that D is greater than C and D is lesser than E. For E, we are ensuring that it is greater than D and lesser than F. And similarly for B, and like all the values actually. So if we see that for every value it is in its correct position relative to its neighbors, as it should be in our required ranking, we are certain that the whole ranking is correct at that particular position of D where we are trying to measure it. So just to reiterate, for a particular value of D, we can know that whether it satisfies the ranking or not by checking whether every adjacent pair is in the correct relative order or not. Now this might not make sense, because if we are already given the value of D, then we could have just computed the value at every step and then we could have just compared, right? Why the additional trouble? Here's why. So let's say we are given this rank list. We are given that 5 is greater than 2 for this rank list to be possible. The lines corresponding to 5 is, let's say, this, and the line corresponding to 2 is, let's say, this. Then we know that 5 is greater than 2 in this region. So let's say this is 0 and this is some d1. So we know that for 5 to be greater than 2, our solution has to lie in 0 to d1. Note that we include d1 because at d1 we could have just taken any order, as it is specified in the problem that at ties you can take any order that you want. And we can do this for every adjacent pair. Note that we are not going to do this for pairs like 3 and 5. We are only going to do this for 3, 1, 1, 5, 5, 2, 2, 4. So if we have n numbers in the list, we have n minus 1 pairs, like adjacent pairs, and for every one of them we will get a range like this. So some L1 to R1, and it might be that R1 is equal to infinity, and then obviously it would be L1 comma R1 with a open bracket. But yeah, So for every pair of adjacent values, we will get a range where that relative order is satisfied, correct? Because relative orders are just pairs of line crossing each other, and then either this portion satisfies it or this portion satisfies it. So once we have all those values, the first position which is present in all of these LIRIs, so basically we just want a value D such that Li is less than equal to D, less than equal to Ri for all I. We want such a value D. If such a value D does not exist, we can just output 9, because then we are certain that that possible ranked list cannot be created. And if the value of D exists, we can find it easily and we can just report that value. Note that we have to store these in fraction forms. So what do we use to store all these things? Well, there are essentially two possible types of these segments. One that is starting at some position and then going on to infinity, and then one that is starting at negative infinity and then coming till a particular value. So what we do is we just use sets to store these values, or rather multi-sets, because there can be repeated values, right? And then for these types of things, like with the cones opening leftward, we store the minimum possible location where this intersection lied, and then for the right side opening cones we store their maximum positions, and if there is a gap, that means there are no possible values which lie both here and here, right? That makes sense. And if they are not non-intersecting, that is they do have some region lying between them, then we can just take any value, and if you don't want to take any value, just take the value that is at the front, because that will also satisfy your constraints. Now what happens when you swap? When you swap, there are only 4 total relative orderings that get broken, right? So for example, if you swap 1 and 2, you will have to change this value, you will have to change this value, you will have to change this value and this value. So this is a small example, so there are only 4 adjacent pairs and it seems like we are changing all of them, but if there were more values here, if there were values in between, we would not have to change those, we just have to change the adjacent values, or rather we just have to change the pairs of relative ordering corresponding to the adjacent values. So it's just a constant number of insertions and deletions, so that is just order log n per query, right, because we are inserting and deleting into a set. So overall time taken is q plus n log n. Hope you understand why only comparing adjacent element works and why it is enough to ensure that all of the elements are in their relative ordering. For more details on how to code this problem, the link to the code is given in the description. Feel free to look into it. It is an SE solution, so you will get an idea on how to implement this problem. Thank you. That's it for today.